Hey everyone, and welcome back to STEM Girl Budgeting. If you're new here, I am a 26-year-old woman living in a high cost of living city with my husband. We have completely joint finances and we budget together using this software called You Need a Budget. And today I'm going to be walking you through how we budget all of our paychecks monthly in this budgeting software. So my husband has been using this software for 5 years. I've been using it for 4, and we've been using it together for over 3 years. So every single month as we receive our paychecks, so for the month of July, we've received 3 different paychecks, 2 for me and 1 for my husband. And as we get that money, it comes to ready to assign, and we go ahead and we put all of it into this category called next month. And the reason for this is because we like to be able to budget all of our paychecks at one time for the following month. This makes it super easy and also just not stressful because as we have bills coming in, we don't have to worry about like, oh, okay, we need to use this paycheck for these bills and this paycheck for these bills. We just do it all at once. And so we are a bit cash heavy because of that, because we save all of our paychecks for the current month for the next month. We always have like more cash than we probably need. And so we take this into account when we decided how much to put in our emergency fund. We have $20,000, and we felt that this is very appropriate considering that we save all of our paychecks for the entire month before we even use it. And my husband does get paid on the 1st. I also get paid on the 1st, but that won't be the case for very long. And so we are holding a lot of cash for, a month or more that we're not going to use, but we really like doing it this way because if there was ever anything to happen with my husband's job, then we know that we would be covered for even longer because we're not relying on that paycheck to come in at exactly the 1st, if that makes sense. So anyway, this is how we do it. And this is, I guess, my second full video actually budgeting a current month with all of you. So yeah, I'm excited to do this again. Let's get into it. So first of all, what is this money? Where does it come from? So in the month of July, I received 2 different paychecks. My pay is like going to be super weird for the next few months. So I am a PhD student, but I receive a stipend to help cover my living expenses while I'm doing my thesis work. So in the US, PhD students are fully funded, so we get a stipend, and then my stipend comes out to be about $4,000 a month gross, but I'm kind of getting paid very weird right now because I'm transitioning from like a monthly pay frequency to like bi-weekly, so it's a little bit weird. Anyway, so my total net income for this month was a little bit under $3,000. And then my husband's income after tax, so he is a 1099 contractor, so he gets paid a flat $10,000 a month for the work that he does for his company. And then we set aside $2,600 for taxes as soon as we get the paycheck. And so we have $7,400 to work with, but this is not including like health insurance, HSA contributions, retirement contributions. We do all of that ourselves afterwards, and I'm going to show you that. And so total to budget for this month is $10,373.17. Okay, so that's the income that we received for July. I'm going to go ahead and close this out to make it a little bit easier to see. And so, like I said before, we budget a month ahead, and so July is already fully funded with June's paychecks. So instead, I'm going to go to August and budget out all of July's income so that we're good to go for the month of August, and we know that we can pay for everything that we need in the month of August. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and then also just for any of you who aren't used to using this budgeting app, it is like an envelope system. So you take the money that you have and then you put it into different envelopes and then you spend from those envelopes. And it's really, really nice because you don't just like look at your bank account and you're like, oh my gosh, I have like $5,000. I can spend like crazy. You know what all of that money is supposed to be doing. And so that's what we really like about this software. It's not just zero-based budgeting, but it's envelope budgeting. So every dollar in our bank account has a job. We know what it's supposed to be doing, and we know whether or not we can spend it guilt-free or whether or not it needs to go towards a bill or something like that. Anyway, highly recommend this budgeting software. So to begin budgeting, I'm going to start with what I like to call as deductions. So like I said before, my husband is technically self-employed, and so we have to cover his health insurance. And for him, this is a high deductible health plan. We live in a state where it's just really, really expensive to get health insurance if you are self-employed. It's quite unfortunate. There aren't really low cost options. So this is what we have to do. It's about almost $500 a month for him to have health insurance, and this isn't even like a PPO plan. This is a, high deductible health plan. But we did opt to do that because we like to be able to contribute to his HSA. And so HSA, we tried to max this out. This is obviously just my husband's HSA. So the annual limit is, I believe, $4,300 this year, and we are working to max that out. So every single month we contribute $358 to make that happen. And then lastly, my husband does have a retirement account. We opened this once he became self-employed. He did not contribute to a retirement account before he got this job, so we are kind of backloading it a little bit. So we want to be able to max the employee contributions for the year, which is $23,500. And so to be on track, we have to do $3,125 a month to make that happen. You can see that we're almost halfway done with this goal. So we've done 11,000 after this amount. And we're kind of contributing to a mix of traditional and Roth contributions. So because my husband recently changed jobs, our gross income for this year is going to end up being $150,000. And so we're trying to contribute as much as we can to traditional to drop us into the 12% marginal tax bracket, and then we're going to put the rest of our money into Roth, because I feel like paying 12% of taxes is worth it to make Roth contributions, because that's a pretty low tax rate, and I would expect our tax rate to probably increase as we get older, just because I'm still a graduate student, so I have not even begun to make what my full income should be at some point. So I am in a STEM field. I'm not sure exactly how much money I'm going to make in the future. It kind of depends on what I end up wanting to do, and I'm not quite sure what that is yet. I could see myself either being like a scientist at like a biotech company, or perhaps go into some sort of consulting, or like I could go into like venture capital, but I'm not really sure if that fits my personality, to be honest. I also really like teaching, so I could also see myself getting like a nice, it wouldn't pay a lot, but just being able to teach like at a university. I don't think I want to run my own lab at like a university, but who knows? I guess follow along if you want to see what I end up doing with my career and how much money I end up making after I finish my PhD. I have no idea yet. Anyway, that was a huge tangent. But you can see here that our effective net income after taking care of all these things that would usually be taken out of a paycheck is more like $6,400 a month. And obviously this is pretty low considering that our gross monthly income is like $14,000, but that's just because we are contributing so aggressively to retirement. Okay. Now I'm going to take care of our fixed expenses for the month. So these are all of our bills. So things that regularly come out every single month, and they're a fixed amount. So obviously the biggest one is rent. We do live in a high cost of living city, and for us that's $2,175 a month. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's about 600 square feet. It's actually, we kind of love it. We are going on living here for, this will be our 3rd year living here. And honestly, it has everything that we need. It's a really nice size for just the two of us. And even though my husband does work from home, I feel like we've been able to configure our living room in such a way that it's very comfortable and he can also like work in it. So I think we might end up continuing to stay here unless they really increase our rent next year. So we'll see. And then for electric, we usually do $100 a month, but I was looking at how much we spent on electric last August, and it was a little bit closer to $150. So I put this note here to budget $150 for electric. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do that because I haven't gotten the bill yet, because our electric bill comes out at the end of the month, and then I think they charge us sometime like mid-August, and then it like will come out at the end of August. But I'm going to put $150 for now because I think that's probably closer to what it's going to end up being. And then for gas, $15. This is just natural gas for cooking. We don't use gas for like heating or anything. So like in the winter, our whole apartment building has radiator heat, and so we don't have to pay for heating. They just heat the entire apartment building with radiator heat, which, you know, pros and cons to that, because you can't really finally like control what the temperature is in the winter, but you just crack a window open. We're not supposed to do that, but if it's like super, super hot, you know, sometimes you just kind of have to crack the window open to let some cool air in, because we cannot really adjust that. And then for internet, it should be $45 a month. I haven't gotten the bill for this either. It was $35 a month, but it's going to become $45 a month, I believe, just because we have a promotion like ending. And then I think next year it's going to be like a huge jump up to like $90 a month. But I think we might play this like little bit of a game where we have, I think it's in my husband's name right now, and so we might have him like cancel the service, and then I'll get the service in my name, and then we could get another promotional discount for like another 3 years in my name. So we kind of game the system like that sometimes. And then, yeah, health insurance we already covered. That comes out every month. For streaming, right now we have Netflix, and then we have Hulu Disney for a discount. It was like $2.99 when I signed up, so it's $10.98 for both of those. And then Google One storage and iCloud storage. I've already given you guys my spiel about whether or not we should pay for storage or whether or not we should just get external hard drives, but for now we're continuing to pay for it. And then Curology is usually $50 a month. I think I'm going to try and get it every 3 months instead of every 2 months, just to save a little bit of money. I get both like their formula and then also a prescription cleanser, and I also use their lotion. And so for all three of those things, it's about $50 a month, or about $100 every 2 months. And it's been working like really, really well for me. I think I just get really frustrated having to like get a bunch of like, I'm just never gonna like be someone who can get a bunch of serums and like remember to use like 8 different things. And so I really like having just like a custom formula and cleanser that has a lot of those things that work well for my skin, but it's just all in like one bottle. So it's been working well for me. I might one day stop using it, especially if money ever gets tighter for some reason, but for now I really like it and I'm going to continue paying for it. And then for my husband's gym, he just goes to a Planet Fitness. It's $20 a month. It's really close to our apartment and it works great. Okay. And then for non-monthly expenses, so these are things that we do not pay for every single month, but we contribute to these things every single month. We put a little bit of money aside every month so that when we do pay for these things, it doesn't hurt our budget like at all. So it just makes it way, way easier to budget. So our renter's insurance is annual and it comes to about $11 every single month. Our car insurance should be about $128 a month. We just have one car that we share. It's an older car, but car insurance is just really expensive in the state and city that we live in. I do shop around periodically to try to get the best deal, and this kind of is just what it is, unfortunately. For auto maintenance, we always put $100 in, and the reason for this is because we have just spent so much money in like auto maintenance over the last few years. It's actually kind of insane. I think it's because we just got the car at a time when it had to have like a lot of things replaced. So yeah, we've replaced like the battery, brake pads, tires, fuel pump, like everything like that. And also we do drive a Volkswagen, and so it takes like synthetic oil, so our oil changes are more expensive, all these things. I was not used to any of this because my family, we always drove like Toyotas, and Toyotas are just so much cheaper to maintain. And so I think in the future we're definitely going to move back to either getting like a Toyota or like a Honda, just because I feel like it's cheaper to maintain and they're more reliable. And then for car registration and fees, so this is also like inspection, taxes, things like that, $10.42 is what it is. And then you're going to start seeing these categories with an F. And so I do not fund these categories directly, and instead we just cover them with we call it a flex fund. And the reason why is because we spend so like not very frequently from these categories, and I just hate having like little bits of money spread across categories that we don't really use. So those categories are more like tracking categories. Like I want to know how much we spend in fines and tickets and medical, even if we're not spending from them that often. And so I just put, extra money in this flex fund, and then when we spend from those categories, I'll just transfer up the money into that to spend. Hopefully that makes sense. So I don't contribute to those directly. Now, for dental insurance, so it's over $1,000 a year for both of us to have dental insurance through my school. I do get reimbursed for at least my portion of it, which is $538. So it was an extra $500 to add my husband to the dental plan. I really think my dental plan is great. Like a lot of dentists here take it. It's not like the best it could be. I think it's $1,500 benefit, which is pretty average. And then I think it covers like 60% of basic, what's it called? I think I have it written down. Basic procedures. I don't know why I was blanking. And then it covers like 40% for major. So yeah, it's pretty decent. So it's not bad. Okay. And then we have our annual dues and subs. So this is just things that we're members of, like Costco, and other subscriptions, like my husband's Sapphire card. You'll notice I did change things from my last video. We used to have our phones up in housing, and then I realized it's not really part of housing. I think I was like considering it a part of our utilities, but it's not really. And I decided to move both of our phone plans down here and to break them up instead of having them in one category. And that's because we pay for them at separate times. So we pay for my husband's phone plan in September, and we pay for my phone plan in December. We use Mint Mobile. It's very, very cheap. We both only have the 15 gigabyte per month plan, and we actually might drop even lower than that. But yeah, anyway, we just don't use a lot of data, so we're not going to pay for a lot of data. So it ends up being like $20 a month for both of us. But the reason why I decided to separate it out is because I realized I was doing all of these like mental gymnastics trying to figure out, okay, are we contributing enough money? Okay, we need to figure out taxes and fees, and like it's not exactly $20 a month, it's like a little bit more. And then I just realized, I think it would be easier to just separate the categories so that I can just make sure that my husband has enough for his phone plan and that I have enough for my phone plan, instead of trying to figure out, how much to contribute to one single category so that we both have enough money when our bills are due. So I was listening to like a budget nerds like podcast with like Ben and Ernie. They're these YNAB employees who have this podcast. And they were talking about how sometimes it's actually simpler to have multiple categories instead of combining everything into one category, which is why I don't have like a mega subscription category anymore. I used to do that, and then I just realized it's so much easier to just like, okay, I have all these subscriptions, I know when they're due, and YNAB will calculate for me how much I need to put into that category each month. So I'd rather have way more categories and just have YNAB do all the math for me than for me to figure out how much money do I need to put into the category to make sure I have enough for all of my subscriptions and make sure I'm also not like over saving. Hopefully that makes sense. So I ended up splitting them out, putting them down here. Right now it's $37 a month for both of them because we have a little bit of a credit. And then I think it's going to go up to like $22.50 each for the next renewal. And then I have ring insurance, YNAB, and my husband's website domain, which is another $14.70. And then Christmas, we always set aside $70 a month, and that just helps us buy our families and friends Christmas presents every single year. We both have large families, so there's a lot of people we like to shop for. And then we always set aside money so that we can fly home for holidays or to visit family. I have a nephew. I like to go visit him. If we ever have to go to like a wedding, funeral, that kind of thing, it all comes out of here if it's related to family. And then we have a separate vacation category just for us to go on vacation together, see the world, whatever. And so this has been accumulating a lot just because we haven't gone on any like international trips or like trips that weren't like basically free. So yeah, like we've done like weekend trips before, but they're like not very expensive, you know, like if we went like camping last year because of the eclipse, and so we like drove to a place where we could see the eclipse in totality, and we like camped out all weekend, but obviously that only cost like $100 to do the whole thing. So yeah, we just haven't been spending a lot on travel recently. And then my husband's gym, so he pays $20 monthly, but then there's also an annual fee, which comes out to another like $4 a month. And so that's that for non-monthly. So now we're prepared for all of these things. And then when we have to pay for these things, we're prepared. And then for variable expenses, so these are things that we frequently spend out of, but we do carry the money over month to month if we don't spend it all. So in some ways, we don't have to spend these categories down to zero, and I don't zero them out except for groceries and dining out. I do zero these out if we don't spend all of them. So for household and toiletries, $60. For groceries, $4.50. For dining out, which is mostly just me buying lunch at work and also us getting takeout, and occasionally we'll go out to eat, $3.50. I don't fund public transit and rideshare directly. I fund this with some extra money that my school gives me in the fall and spring semesters to help subsidize my my transportation costs. And so we take that money and we put this in here when I get that from the school. And then $75 for gas. We're gonna spend more on gas because we are driving to go on a little trip with my family. They're all flying out here, and then we're gonna go drive up and go to like a national park and go hike and stuff. And so yeah, we're gonna be spending a little bit more on gas. And then parking and tolls, $15. Gifts, $75. Charity, $4.50. We're letting this build up for now because we haven't decided which organizations we want to support this year. And then dates and fun, $100. That's for us to go do fun things together. And then for all of my categories, I get $275, and then my husband gets $200. So the reason why it's different is because we just spend different amounts on things. So because I present myself differently, I spend a lot more on like makeup, skincare, that kind of thing. And so I get $50 for like beauty and haircuts and stuff like that, while he only gets $10 because he's only spending money on, you know, getting his hair cut. And we both get our hair cut by this girl who cuts our hair for really cheap. We only spend like $20 every time we go. I think this might change in the future because she's moving away, and then we're going to have to go to the salon and spend a lot more money, and then we might have to rethink our budget. And then I also spend more money on clothes than he does. I spend a little bit more on fitness than he does, but this is like almost the same. And then we both get $25 a month so that we can buy each other like gifts throughout the year. And then if we overspend on each other, then we just pull it from our main guilt-free money. And so we both get $100, and this is money that we can use for anything. And then I also have this movie category. This is just a tracking category because I like going to the movies a lot. I'm really into just, yeah, independent like films, indie films, that kind of thing. I go to the theater a lot with my friends. And so when I go to the movies by myself, I spend out of this category and then I cover it with the guilt-free money. But I like to just track how much of my money is going to this thing, even though we don't fund it directly. So yeah, that's how we do our individual spending. And so this is kind of like our own little mini checking accounts within our budget, but we don't have to have like separate accounts for that money because we do treat this money as like this $1,500 is my husband's, this $1,700 is for me. And then we can spend this at any time for whatever we want. And we can move money around in these categories if we want. It's completely our money. So I really like that we do it that way. And then lastly, we have save and, well, invest and save. So this used to just be invest. And this is where I fund our taxable brokerage and our Roth IRAs. Our Roth IRAs are already funded for this year, so we are just contributing to our taxable brokerage. And I do need to do $5,000 more into the brokerage this year to meet our investment goal of investing $50,000 this year. But I'm a little bit hesitant to do the full 1,000 this month just because our flex fund has been getting so low because I had to take from it for various things like covering the dental plan. It's a lot more than it usually is. It's usually only $500 and I do get reimbursed for that $500, but then I also had to do an additional like $500 for my husband. But we've just had to pull for a few different reasons and I'm working on replenishing it. But I am picking up a side job this fall. I'm going to be a teaching assistant for a class and they're going to pay me an additional like $6,500 for that work. So that's gross. And then obviously after tax, I'll get less. And so because I'm going to be making an additional like few $1,000s like this fall, I think it's okay if I only do $500 into the taxable brokerage this month, and then I can make up for it in one of the following months. I can just do $1,500 one of the other months instead of $1,000. And I think that's fine. And so then the rest of it I can put towards our flex fund. And then I also haven't gotten the interest from our high yield savings account yet. And that's usually 130, 140. I'm not really sure exactly how much it's going to be. And then that can go towards this as well. And then our landlord is also refunding our security deposit because my husband's income increased dramatically. And so now they don't consider us like high risk. And so they're going to refund us our security deposit because they don't need that anymore on record. So that's going to be another $1,000. Also, my school is going to reimburse me at least for my portion of the dental insurance, which is another $500. And then I'll just keep contributing to the flex fund until we get between $3,000 and $4,000 using my extra pay that I'm going to be getting from the teaching assistant position that I'm doing. And then we'll also finish out the taxable brokerage and make sure that we meet our goal for the year. Okay, so that's everything. So you can see here for the month of August, everything is green and ready to go except for this. I'll snooze this once the new month happens because I'm only going to do 500. I'll make it up later. But yeah, everything's ready to go for the month of August. So that is how we budget. But yeah, if you're interested in following along on more of these budget with me's, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing a recap of what we spent in July and our net worth and things like that in the next few days. So stay tuned. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.